Dr. Brad Stelfox. I'm a landscape ecologist, work with the ALCES Group, work at a municipal, provincial, national, even international scale, and live west of Calgary near the community of Brad Creek, Alberta.
What are oil sands metrics to you, and why is it important?
Well, oil sands are one across a trajectory of hydrocarbons. Conventional oil, natural gas, oil sands, whether we mine it or in situ, Carrigan oil shale. So I don't think we're actually talking about oil sand metrics. We're talking about performance metrics that can be used for oil sands as much as conventional oil, natural gas. Hydrocarbons are a global commodity. They're a global market. People have limited money. They're trying to invest it in good ways. And oil sands are one opportunity. And so what I, as an investor, would want is to understand how well do oil sands stack up against conventional oil or natural gas. So we need a common set of indicators, we can call them performance indicators, that help inform me in terms of where I might invest my money or anyone else.
How do we come up with things that we can measure that are meaningful to all the audiences?
Ultimately, consumers like one index. GDP would be an example. So there's going to be a top of the pyramid approach with one or two indicators that tell us a lot. Miles per gallon would be an example of how consumers want indicators on efficiency by how we move vehicles. So the hydrocarbon sector is going to have to find metrics, and it could be the amount of energy produced and footprint created. But others are going to want deeper levels of detail. And so I imagine what we'll see, Dave, is a hierarchy of performance metrics unfold.
How can this help the public, the owner of the oil sands resource, understand whether we're doing a good job or not?
Companies that, through the adoption of better technology, better practices, can improve their benefits and reduce reliability should outperform others. And I, as a consumer, need performance metrics to make wise decisions about various companies or various hydrocarbon types. And it's not even just hydrocarbon types, the whole spectrum of energy from renewables to hydrocarbons.
And so what kinds of things should we be looking at? What are examples?
Well, for me, on the liability side, land uses and hydrocarbon types require footprints. You have to find out where the hydrocarbons are. So there's seismic lines, and then you have to build the well pads and the well sites and the access roads and the pipelines. And in the case of bitumen, a portion of it is mined, so we have to build mining facilities. So these footprints cause adverse effects, liabilities to ecological goods and services. Could be caribou, could be water quality, could be air emissions. So they need to be quantified. And there's hundreds of different types of things we can quantify. The challenge with respect to performance metrics is to aggregate them up into things that are meaningful, clear, relevant, defendable, robust. And so footprint would be one that I would certainly want to focus on, is how much footprint do you have to build, and by footprint, the things on Earth, like the seismic lines, well sites, pipelines, surface mines, relative to the amount of energy we get out. Another, of course, is how much energy you put in to get energy out. And not all hydrocarbons are the same that way.
So if we come up with a common language and a common set of ways of talking about the oil sands, do you think that'll help companies or hinder companies?
In a perfect world where people have A, generated a good set of indicators, and B, there's a transparent mechanism to disseminate it, then I would think the average investor or the average consumer is going to do what they should in a free enterprise economy and reward better players. So we should see a shift towards those approaches to generating energy that maximize benefits while minimizing liabilities. And I think that's the end game here.
So where do you hope this goes, this process?
There's more than just GDP or return on investment that's important. We need to understand the performance of ecological goods and services. That conversation is embryonic, and it will take many years, arguably many decades, before we land on a series of agreed upon performance indicators that are accepted at any sort of reasonable scale, national or global.
Do you think there'll be outcomes that are sooner, because there's decisions that need to be made in the interim as well?
Yes. For example, greenhouse gas emissions per cubic meter of energy that's produced is one metric that's already being traded. It's already influencing decisions. So yes, some of these metrics are on the table today, and they'll continue to evolve. The problem is that there's not necessarily one definition of how to get those individual metrics. So different countries, different organizations are defining things differently. these need to be standardized. This conversation, among other things, is about how to standardize those.
Brad, thank you very much. Thanks for coming, and thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, Dave.